My first DLC prediction video came out in April, and PlayStation State of Play happened in May, and now it's July. I thought by now we would have at least a trailer or a teaser for Help Wanted 2 DLC. John from the channel FNAF recently interviewed the creator of Help Wanted series from Steel Wool, and they briefly brushed on cut minigames and how much work goes into making a mini golf game. That's why Monty Gator didn't end up having one. They also touched upon the minigames they might revisit down the line, hinting at possible DLC in the future. There's also going to be a Steel Wool announcement on August 4th as part of the 10th anniversary for FNAF. So while we wait for official word on DLC, let's get into some more predictions. The parts and service minigames from the first game were really fun and intense. I wish Help Wanted 2 had more than just one. I don't know, something about repairing a creepy looking animatronic right in front of your face and knowing one wrong move can be my demise just brings me joy. The absence of Monty Gator has been felt thus far. Since we already know his minigame was cut in favor of Bonnie Bowling, then how about they bring back Monty, at least for a parts and service iteration. This aggressive, short-tempered Gator would make for some exhilarating repair work. Another intense parts and service would be featuring amalgamation from the novels. I'm not super knowledgeable on what goes on in the novels, but the design for this abomination is really cool. The amount of precision you would need for working on this animatronic would take patience and attention to detail. Imagine having to wire Foxy to Chica, then her to Bonnie, all while having to avoid crossing wires with Freddy. Doing all this in minimal lighting would be really difficult. While we're on the topic of parts and service, it would be really cool to get the toy animatronics in these minigames. I felt like these animatronics aren't as popular, and maybe that's why we rarely get to see them return. The common theory online is that Fall Fest has so much lore that we haven't seen yet. The Curse of Dreadbear DLC took place during this era, and even the recent Phaser Blast and Cinder Carousel. A minigame I would like to see get added takes place during the burnt down Fall Fest, but you're stationed inside a Ferris wheel. The objective would be to shoot targets as the Ferris wheel moves, but at the same time, a burnt Carney animatronic is crawling towards you, and the only way to combat him is with a burst of electricity. The difficulty and motion sickness this minigame can cause would make for a scary experience. Another carnival-themed minigame could be a skee-ball iteration. The machine can be modeled around Jack-O-Moon, and the objective could be to reach a specific score. While you're doing this, Jack-O-Moon is roaming around trying to make his way to you. Similar to the carousel, you would be equipped with a flashlight to scare him off again. Even the simplest minigames can make for the most challenging. Like the Bonkabon was a simple concept, but the darkness and trying to avoid hitting Baby made for a challenging experience. The concept of the Danger Keep Out minigames is very unique. Having a backup generator at your disposal and a flash of light to protect yourself rather than doors is an interesting concept. I would love to see a version of this minigame brought back in Help Wanted 2, but instead of the traditional animatronic stalking us, it could be the Mimic disguised as the mascots from Security Breach Ruin DLC. The design of these mascots are very creepy, and I wouldn't want their creepiness being wasted in the brief time we saw them. Imagine these things coming to life thanks to the Mimic. This would make for a very scary VR experience. I've been saying this for a long time and will continue to say it until it happens. We need a mainline game, or maybe even a spin-off FNAF game, to take place in Fredbear's Family Diner. This era is only brushed upon in Easter eggs and countless lore. So how about we get a Danger Keep Out minigame featuring Fredbear and Spring Bonnie? Or maybe even Fredbear and Springtrap. If the Fredbear era will continue to live on in Easter eggs, then let's have an occasional minigame take place during this era. The art style of this world would make for a cool experience in VR. A FNAF World minigame in Help Wanted 2 could be made into a first-person battle experience. The concept of the minigame could put you in the perspective of Freddy as you fight alongside Chica and Bonnie, as your team takes on different enemies. Each level would increase the difficulty as you make strategic choices with the move list right in front of you, and all you have to do is press them with your clicker finger. These minigames wouldn't be on the scary side, they would be made simply for the experience and for fun. In my last prediction video, I mentioned how the salvage interview from Pizza Sim would make for a scary VR experience. But that's not the only aspect from Pizza Sim that would be scary in VR. Having the office portion from that game become a VR experience would be intense. Sitting in a cramped office with 2 vent shafts on both sides, completing tasks, and keeping an eye on the temperature, all while trying to avoid the salvage animatronics in VR, would be really scary. The current office experiences we had in Help Wanted 2 were easy for the most part, so an added challenge of the task and temperature would really take the experience into a whole nother level. One of the scariest minigames from the first Help Wanted was the dark rooms, notably the Funtime Foxy and Funtime Gang versions. Something about being in a pitch black dark room with only a flash of light, seeing Foxy get closer and closer with every flash is intense. This minigame needs to come back, but this time, have it take place in Endo's warehouse. For some reason, anything to do with endoskeletons is creepy to me. Knowing that they get closer and closer every time I don't look at them fills me with anxiety. Having to experience what Gregory experienced in the security breach Endo warehouse would make for a challenge in VR. There's speculation online that we might get DLC revealed during summertime, or that maybe even the DLC will be summer themed, since last time we got Halloween theme. Let's say they do a summer theme. How would they incorporate that into a horror game? An interesting concept they could do would be a summer slasher theme. This incorporates summer and horror into one. The whole vibe for this DLC could put you in the summer camp, with a summer cabin, a lake, and a sunset ready to set the tone for the horrors. For the slasher theme, they could even give Freddy a slasher makeover, complete with a hockey mask to fit the theme. One concept for a minigame could place you inside a summer cabin, having to run back and forth between doors, making sure there's no animatronics lurking. The windows would display an ominous view of the woods, with eerie sounds of animatronics lurking, making their way to you. The mechanics for this game would work similar to the FNAF 4 bedroom minigames from the first Help Wanted, where you would have to pay close attention to the sounds. A second concept for a minigame would put you roaming in the woods, equipped with a flashlight, having to avoid one lone animatronic, which would be Springtrap. The feel to this one would be similar to Slenderman. The objective would be to make it back to your campsite. Your only guide would be the dim campfire light in the distance. The only way to avoid Springtrap would be to turn off your flashlight and wait until he goes away, but you're going to need the light to make your way through, so plan accordingly. In the first prediction video, I mentioned that a gauntlet-style multiplayer would be a great feature for this game to continue to live on, along with a global leaderboard displaying the quickest times it took players to complete a certain minigame. Another feature that would be really interesting is playing through minigames, but with certain challenges added. For example, let's say in one minigame you're only allowed to use a flashlight a certain number of times. Or another example would be in the Office games. You're only allowed to use a camera a limited amount of times, and you would have to rely only on the audio cues for the duration of the game. This feature would not only raise the difficulty to a whole nother level, but at the same time, it would give players a different experience with the added challenge. Hopefully during the 10th anniversary we get some sort of teaser or even a full-blown trailer for DLC. If not, then I might have to be back here with more predictions until we get some real ones. Let me know what kind of DLC you guys would like to see get added. And if you haven't already checked out the first part to this video, feel free to do so. I'll leave you with that, and as always, thanks for watching.